Welcome back to another episode of Uploaded and Unfiltered, the podcast in which I, your host Jermaine, interviews another content creator in regards to their journey thus far. Today is May 26th. I'm not even sure which episode we're on in regards to the podcast, but today is definitely a let me keep this streak going podcast episode. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the weather. I don't know if it's the food I've been eating lately, but I am exhausted. So I'm going to do what I tell so many people to do. Take a break. Now, this is not going to be like a full-on break, but there are a few things that I know that I can dial back a little bit. I'm still going to post that content daily. I'm still going to get this podcast up every week, but streaming might take a little pause on that for a little bit, just so I can gather my energy, so I can hit this ground running. This episode, I don't really have any subject that I want to touch on, but I do, you know what? That's not true. We'll touch a little personal story about me and how I used to view the world, how I view it now, and then we'll end it out for today. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, share it with your closest Black content creators so they can get some information like this into their perspective. And who knows, maybe something will change and they'll start making more content. And oh my God, that would make me excited as hell. Anyway, I want to talk on a subject of praise for your work, I guess, for the lack of a better word. We'll start here. The content I create, I don't do it looking for thank yous. I don't do it looking for people to acknowledge my work as far as coming up to me and gushing over it. If I'm being honest, I make my content first and foremost for me. But with my content, I do have an intention, and with all of the negative and horrible and not satisfying content out there, I want my content to inspire. I want my content to make you laugh. I want my content to have you leave content, but I want my content to be uplifting. Now, every video I put out, every story that I write, every stream that I have doesn't need to contain all 4 or 5 of those different feelings. But at the very end, I want to make sure that I am contributing to your subconscious and not feeding it things that is going to cause you mental harm going forward. So with that, I try to remember that before I do anything. I should have did it before I did this podcast, but I'm doing it now. I said it out loud and now I'm here. I wanted to thank everybody out there who has ever came up to me and said, thank you for what you do, or I appreciate your content, or thank you for streaming, or thank you for the podcast. The number of people who have shared with me over the last month that they listen to the podcast, they're getting information out of the podcast, it's helping or it's having them look at things differently. That's all I ever wanted out of this podcast. And I don't know why intention towards my content never really fully showed up like it did over this last week, but hearing those kind words, hearing those kind things from loved ones, from friends, from people I don't even know is encouraging. And for the longest time, I don't know why, hearing somebody saying they enjoy my content or they enjoy what I do was such a triggering event that, like, I would hear it and I wouldn't be rude, but I never took it to heart. I never allowed myself to enjoy that compliment. I never allowed myself to be like, yeah, you know what? I am doing good shit. And I think it's because, and my wife and I talked through this a little bit, that I, in the back of my mind, maybe in my subconscious, that I thought that someone complimenting you was a way to manipulate you. And I know that sounds very conspiracy theory and very guarded, but yeah, that's how I was for the longest time. I was very guarded with my emotions. I was very guarded with what I allowed people to see of me. Hell, I was very guarded with my family in general. Like, it took a very long time to work up the courage to allow people to compliment me take that compliment and let it do what it needs to do. And I think compliments are there when they're from the heart and when they're sincere. I think compliments help fuel the fire that you use to create content. So I guess my advice for today would be allow people to give you your flowers. Allow people to show you how much they appreciate you, and in turn, take it with gratitude. Take it from a place of love. Don't think they're being malicious or they're trying to manipulate you into doing something. Just take it at face value. They enjoy your content. Your content might change something in their life that you have no idea about. Say, thank you. I appreciate that. Be gracious about it and move on. Once I did that, or now that I'm in the habit of doing that, it's just a nice feeling. And I think the thing that I really wanted to avoid was having myself think that I needed that feedback to go forward. That's not true. And I don't want anybody out there to think that they need that feedback to go forward. Again, at the end of the day, this content is for those who find it. And there are definitely people out there who need to hear the things that I'm saying and share my perspective on mindset and sharing my perspective on how we create content is how I grow my audience, is how I reach out to people who may think they're going through things unique to themselves alone. And I've lived long enough to know that that's not true. The ideals that I have in regards to where I want to take my content, where I see society could be as a whole, only happens if I get out there and talk. It only happens if I make the content. It only happens if I am strong enough to say the things that I feel, because at the end of the day, I got to keep reminding myself, and it's crazy that I need to do this, but we're going to do it until it's a habit, till it's locked in. I don't give a fuck what most people think, especially loud, wrong people. Loud, wrong people can't tell me shit. They can't tell me my content sucks. They can't tell me that I need to pack it up and go do something else. Like, their opinion doesn't fucking matter. And if the opinion doesn't matter, there's zero reason for me to be scared. An incident happened earlier this week. Shout out to Deontay Kyles, who essentially, I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but I just want to say he said some things that I will speak for myself that I have thought for years, but was too scared to speak up about it. Basically said that men need to hold other men accountable for their actions. So, simple example, if I'm hanging out with my homeboys and my homeboy says some foul shit or does some shit or makes a joke and at the expense of women, or God forbid, went and caused harm to someone in front of me or mention a story about it, it's on me as a man to check that motherfucker. It's on me to be like, hey, that's not cool. You should not be doing shit like that. And then the chips may fall where they fall after that. Either we stop being friends, either they wise up and be like, you know what, my bad. I didn't even know the fuck I was doing. In order to stop the cycle from perpetuating, we need to speak up about it. And that goes about anything. And again, if you don't give a fuck about the people who are going to come at you and be like, oh, you're just pandering, or, oh, you're a feminist, or whatever negative shit they have to say, if we don't step up and say something towards that, then we're part of the problem. And I wanted to specifically say shout out to Deontay for stepping out on that ledge, which again, I know a lot of people were saying it's not really a ledge, it's not the biggest take to take, but not many motherfuckers were taking it. At least not with the platform that he has. And that is a goal and dream of mine. That's the goal. That's the reality that we're moving towards. And my platform will be big enough that when I say something that may be controversial to the quote unquote normal society out there, it is very much going to get said without question. Like, people need to hear this. Also, because I was somebody who thought like him, and me seeing him go out on that limb and he just did it, he's like, yeah, this is it. Fuck y'all. Why the fuck are we still celebrating R. Kelly and Diddy and Chris Brown? Like, we should not be, as men who do not want that type of behavior or that type of energy in our society. It's up to us to speak up. Seeing him do that, I'm not going to lie, it lit a fire under my ass. It reminded me that, yeah, I have daughters. I have a mom. I have a wife. I have I have friends who experience the world differently than I will ever experience. And I will talk about this more later when I have a little bit more energy. But I think the one thing that most men need to learn is how to be empathetic, how to show empathy. Empathy is a emotion that has fundamentally changed the way that I live my life. fundamentally changed the way I interact with my loved ones, with my wife, my daughters, my parents. Is it always there? No, but the fact that it's there at all has been monumental in my life. So with that being said, I do want to talk about more things that maybe I have shied away from, because at the end of the day, I started Radiant Reflection, started Uploaded and Unfiltered because I see a need for two things. Black creators to speak authentically about what they feel. And I think seeing how many, I don't even want to talk shit about them, seeing how many men reacted the way they did in a way that I do not see as productive has taught me, has showed me that what I bring to the content space with Upload and Unfiltered, with Radiant Reflection, is very necessary. When I see somebody react to something they don't agree with anger, with name calling, with trying to tear somebody down, that is a mental issue. That is a mental issue that is tied to how you are reacting to what was said, because you're taking it personal. Your subconscious is like, oh, fight or flight, some crazy's happening. And it takes you out of the critical thinking process that is crucial for conversations like this. I think this next week, I'm going to spend some time on things that have fundamentally changed my life, being a Black man in America, talk about some of the things that used to anger me, used to keep me confused. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's empathy being one. There are a lot of things that I have implemented into my life that have made life more joyful, made me have more energy at the end of the day for not only the content and the work that I want to do, but for my loved ones, for my family, for my wife, for my kids, for my siblings. Like, being able to have that energy, because it's not tied up in me being angry, or it's not tied up in me being anxious about going out in public. It's not tied up in me second guessing. Like, no, all that energy that I used to use on negative shit, worrying about the future, worrying about how this bill's going to get paid, worrying about my content being seen, all that energy is now been released back to me. And I get to pour that energy into dope ass projects. And like, that in itself makes me happy as hell. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this now. I feel like I got some gems in there. I feel like I got some good. But again, thank you. If you're a new listener, I appreciate you. If you're an old listener, I definitely appreciate you. We are rounding close to 100 episodes of Uploaded and Unfiltered. I've been toying with the idea of expanding the podcast, or maybe taking it in a different direction. Definitely been toying with the idea of doing video. Might do live video. I have a bunch of options that we can explore. But part of me is like, what's broke, don't fix it. But the other part of me is, okay, we got an established routine down. We've proven to ourselves that we can do it. In July, it'll be 2 years of straight week to week to week content uploaded for the podcast, which I can't tell you how happy and excited that makes me. But the next move is to reach more people, because again, seeing how a lot of men responded to the thought of holding their homeboys accountable shocked me. And even if Deontay said it in a way that could be, if you heard it, you might think a different way. The fact that they're not even willing to be like, hey, what did you mean by that? They instantly went to anger and judgment, and like that level of, nah, not me, man. No, I'm individual. Like, it echoes some shit that I used to say. There was a point in time, and I'll end on this, I promise. Like, I didn't think I needed community. I didn't think I needed other people in my life. I didn't think I needed to care about other people's plight. Why did I feel like that? I can't pull that feeling anymore, because like empathy, like I give a fuck, not about everything. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to I almost say who I didn't give a fuck about. We're not doing that today. But because I can't feel like that, like I thought I wasn't able to talk towards those things, but I can definitely talk towards those things. When I speak, people listen. I know this. I've known this my entire life, and it's now time for me to use that skill, use that gift that I've had forever to shape and to turn and to push people towards a way of thinking that will be better, that will suit them better for their lives, that will help them achieve their goals, that will help them regain that energy that is stuck in anger or stress or anxiety or procrastination or imposter syndrome. All that energy that we put into those things are draining our creative brains, our creative process. And I know that it is possible to capture it and redisperse. I know it's possible to have one conversation about anything, any stucknesses that you have, redirect that energy to help benefit what you are chasing in life. And so, yeah, I need to get more vocal about it. I need to let motherfuckers know that, hey, I am a mindset coach for content creators. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to help you get 4,000 followers on Twitch, or I'm going to help you get the bag from one conversation. But I can promise you that I will help you understand the mental side of getting the bag, of creating content, of being consistent, because those are the real things that get you to the bag. Being consistent, showing up for your audience and letting them know that, hey, every time, every week, whatever your schedule is, this is when I'm going to be here. This is when I'm going to show up. That consistency, especially when you're doing YouTube, that consistency just snowballs. And eventually you're going to be 6, 7, a year out, and you're going to be like, damn, I did all of this. And then the good shit's going to start rolling. But it all, I feel, comes down to mindset. How you feel about the grind, how you feel about the future, how you think about the future, how you fantasize about the future. All of that shit matters. All right. Appreciate y'all for listening. Hopefully there wasn't too many ums and ahs, but you know what? I don't give a fuck right now. I'm editing this. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to put some music on it. I'm going to throw a thumbnail on it. And then we got another one in the bag. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. And hey, if you ever want to reach out to me and do work, you want to collab on some content, you want to set up a session so we can talk about what your stucknesses are and how I can help you alleviate those stucknesses, hit me up. There's a link in the description of this podcast. You can send a message there. You can find me on Instagram, Uploaded and Unfiltered. You can find me on TikTok, everywhere. I will leave my links in the description of this podcast, and I will leave a link to my Stan store, where I offer a plethora of different services to help content creators, Black content creators, become their authentic selves and start getting back to creating content. So if that sounds like something that would be up your alley, or something that you need, or something that you're curious about, definitely go check the links in the bio. Other than that, thank you for listening. I will talk to you next week. I don't know if I'm going to have a guest. It depends on what my research does about as far as the things that have fundamentally changed my life. But other than that, I'll talk to y'all next week. As always, protect your mental, keep creating content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.